Welcome to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Carrie Johnston at the Becker County Historical Society Museum. And today we're just touching base again, talking about this Water Carnival project that the JCs have kind of jump-started. And the project is they want to get stories, compile a book about the Water Carnival because it is going to celebrate, they're celebrating their 75th year of the Water Carnival.
Yeah, that's right. 2010 is going to be big.
That's right. So we're here today at the museum to talk about, start maybe generating stories about folks out there in the community who may have some good gems out there as far as the Water Carnival goes. And we're going to talk with Carrie today because she's got some nice props here today that might start generating a little talk.
There you go. I went into our archives and see what we had at the museum, what's been stored since 1934. So behind us is an awesome display donated by Lucille Hagen, and this was her collection of personal buttons she had saved. They don't quite go in order, but she has some really interesting ones. So if you're looking to spark some ideas, stop in and see Lucille's display and all of the different Water Carnival buttons, and she's also got some programs that were given out. So yeah, some interesting items. And then I'm holding, of course, the Admiral's hat, and I think that sparks a lot of interest for people. So we did a little research on where did that start and why. I'll give you the hat because I'm going to read from our scrapbook. This was a scrapbook done in 1940. Oh, it's lovely. You could be a great admiral. 1940, and it says, the headline is, "Where's Yacht Cap?" And it's B.J. Clement, Chief of Detroit Lakes Police Force, is shown wearing a yacht cap, the official headgear for the city's Water Carnival in July of this year. All local police are following the example of their chief and wearing yacht caps in advance of the three-day celebration. And this was put out by the St. Paul Dispatch. So it made maybe some national news and got a little attention by starting with the Admiral hat, and obviously it worked, and we keep doing it how many years later.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I thought I would turn to the next page just a couple days later. And they have this great picture, and it is of the admirals and a couple of the JCs sitting in a boat and all wearing admiral's caps. So it must have really caught on right in 1940, and I think we've been doing it ever since. So I think there's some great stories people could tell of the admiral's cap and times when it was used and wearing it all summer long. I know maybe there's some things out there that we could gather, those great oral histories.
Sure, and you've got some photos.
Some great photos.
Hat showing up.
Yeah, setting up their maybe a water fight, it looks like, that they're doing, and of course one of the admirals is there in his hat. So it was there, of course, in the parade. You always have to be in the parade and be wearing the admiral's hat. This happens to be the president of the JCs that year. Looks like it says Dave Knutson. The parades are always popular. If you look really close in the crowd, you'll see a few admirals' hats back in there.
It's kind of like the Where's Waldo.
Exactly, exactly. And this was a great photo. This is president of the JCs, John Hoagland, and he's got his admiral hat as he rides with Mrs. JC, President Pat Wines, and Kurt Cherry was the admiral that year. So some great photos to come look at and spark the ideas.
So yeah, that's one of the many examples that we can offer you. If you are a former admiral and you have a particular story about a hat or something that happened to you when you were wearing the hat, all the better. So
I think that would be great. I know there were some admiral games that were played. I heard of some inner tube races out on the lake using paddle, other things that the admirals and past admirals were encouraged to participate in. So some great stories out there.
All right, and I see that this has a button from 1957 on there. So if you actually remember 1957 Water Carnival and what happened there, that's another story. So just some of the little things that you might remember about the Water Carnival, about some of the events in particular. I know we had talked before about, there have been events that have kind of come and gone through the Water Carnival, very unique events.
Yes.
Some that...
Fishing derbies on down to the parade, but I think they've all been changed a little bit every single year.
That's right. And I don't know that they still have the fishing derby, but I remember participating in one. I think I won a 5-gallon bucket of ice cream or whatever, or silver dollar or something. But that was always fun, the fishing on Long Bridge that I remember too. So any stories like that, I think they can either contact you, Carrie Johnston at the museum, or Kim Betcher at the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. She is, of course, a past admiral. She is a member of the JCs, too. But, Carrie, we're going to take a quick break and be back with more hometown happenings and more talk about the Water Carnival after this. Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy along with Carrie Johnston at the Becker County Historical Society. And today we're talking about a project that the Jaycees have kicked off to celebrate the 75th annual Water Carnival, which will happen in 2010. And so what they're doing is they're compiling a book of photos and stories about throughout the 75 years of the Water Carnival. And you know, we had some props when we started the show. You know, with the Admiral's hat is a big feature in the Water Carnival. Yep. And it got its beginnings early on, and you know, stuff like that, just anything that would prompt a story, or if you know of anybody who has a story about you know, any part of the Water Carnival, because there have been you know, we've got the parade, there have been events. One thing that Kim had brought up on the other show was that they used to, at the Water Carnival, they used to block off the city beach, the entire city beach for the beach events, and you had to have a button to get in.
Sure.
But stuff like that, kind of quirky things and maybe not so quirky things.
Yeah, I think if you were an admiral or maybe designed a button, helped with a program, they would like to hear those stories.
Yeah, and you know, even if you participated in the parade, I remember there was one particular parade where it was sponsored actually by KDLM, our TV3's sister station, but we had a radio band, and we had to carry our transistor radios, and we got shirts. I think they had mellow yellow on the front. And then, you know, I think they did that for a few years, but stuff like that, where you may have participated in the parade. I remember being a sign carrier on a couple of occasions.
Sure. And the floats were beautiful. I mean, the 40s, the 50s, in through even the 70s, they really put a lot of work into the floats. And of course, the Queen floats that came from other cities or Detroit Lakes itself, they were just beautiful. So I think those, maybe building the float and how much work was put into them.
Right, and even marching bands. Detroit Lakes High School used to have one of the best marching bands in the state, I think. I was in one of them anyway, you know. But they always had marching bands, and you know, just, I think there were at least 20 at one point, marching bands in the parade. So if you have any stories that you'd like to share, any old photos, even any old movies maybe of the parade or of the Water Carnival events, you can contact Carrie here at the museum or Kim Betcher at the DL Community and Cultural Center. And I believe they will be having a website up and running very soon.
I know the Jaycees are working on it.
That's right. So Carrie, thank you for this walk down memory lane here at the museum, of course. You can stop in if you need any prompting for history. You can stop in, do a little research, maybe even go back through some old newspapers or something.
Yes, we've got tons of photos and newspapers and lots of information to be able to share and help you with research.
All right. Well, with Carrie Johnston, I'm Carol McCarthy for TV3 Hometown Happenings.